Boston College football, are they in for a season that we're going to remember, or is it going to be disappointing? We get an expert to talk all about it.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Thank you for joining us today. We are a daily Boston College podcast, talking your Boston College Eagles in the way that you want to hear about them. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On today's show, I have a special guest, Brett Ryder of Eagles Daily. I really enjoy working with Brett. I've been on his show. We see each other all in the field. We're going to talk today about the current state of college football. Where does BC see themselves? We're going to look at where BC as a school needs to go under Father Jack over the next 10 years. And I want to get his take. You've heard enough of me talking. Let's bring on Brett Ryder to talk about what he thinks. Brett, it's been a long time, but I'm so glad you're here. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. We just kind of talked in the pre-show. It's been a little bit, and I know that we've been talking about doing this for a while, so it's good to bring it to fruition finally.
Yeah, and Brett, obviously, he's the host of Eagles Daily, a great podcast. I enjoy listening to his podcast. I have to say I enjoy it a little bit more than John Meter-Perel's when he talks about the Patriots all the time. At least you get into BC just as much as we do here.
He was supposed to be a host on. He was supposed to be a co-host when the show originally started too. So
it's like he's a good guy. I just think the talk about the Patriots is a little much at times.
Yes.
Anyways,
especially with the state of them right now too.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the season, but this is Locked On BC, not Locked On Patriots.
Right.
So let's talk about Boston College. Let's get into this spring, year 2 of Bill O'Brien. I think last year, a lot of positivity to build upon. He went, he had one of the biggest dramas of the year for any schools with the issue with Thomas Castellanos. Grayson James comes in. He does his thing. Donovan Azaraku plays out of his mind. But let's look at this year. Brett, we've seen each other at practice. You have your thoughts on where the team is going. I want to hear your perspective. Let the fans hear what you think of where BC's at right now.
So I like to kind of think of it as, especially in sports terms, right? It's like there's always like a face of the franchise, the face of a program, whatever the case may be. That was Thomas Castellanos last year. Mm-hmm. And when you look at, BC's kind of big three in terms of like firepower, it was Castellanos, it was Lewis Bond, and it was Azaraku. This year, you're looking at a potential Dylan Lonergan. Then, you have just like so much talent to choose from. It's hard to really key in on a single couple players in order to really be the face of the program. And I think that's what makes it the most exciting is the amount of depth and just the amount of firepower that they have. Obviously they lost Azaraku, and we'll talk about that in a little bit on ways that they're going to look at, really replacing him. But there's a lot of talent. I know you talk about it on your show all the time, but the running back room and the wide receiver room, like those are special groups, and that there's a lot to be excited about there.
Now, I sit next to Brett in the press box, and I know multiple times last year, we're not allowed to cheer. That's part of the rules. You have to sit there and you have to suck it up. But there were multiple plays by Reed Harris where you went,
yeah,
and you couldn't say anything, but you had that reaction. He's back.
Yes.
And I don't think there's enough being said about a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", that can make those Randy Moss-esque plays like Reed Harris can. What are your thoughts on him and just like that? You mentioned the depth of the wide receiver room. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, we saw it firsthand. Like, what was it, the Pitt game when he made that just incredible catch in the end? Like, so we've seen it, and I think early on in the season, he was very much a boomer bust type of receiver where he was getting one or two, big yardage plays down the field, what have you. But then once Grayson came in and you saw the rapport that they had, because, I'm sure all through spring and all through practice, they were probably, on second team together. And all of
Yep.
a sudden, Grayson's starting. He has this rapport and trust with Reed Harris, and Reed Harris's production just exploded. And we were seeing plays that and athleticism that I don't know when the last time we saw that from a Boston College receiver. Like Zay Flowers, different type of receiver. Zay Flowers is like the Wes Welker to the Randy Moss that Reed Harris brings. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I think we just saw the tip of the iceberg, and I loved how you brought that up. Like, we don't, and we're gonna get to the quarterback in a minute, but his
Yeah.
relationship with Grayson James, like, you look at the statistics, and if you go to cfbstats.com and you pull up Reed Harris's game by game,
Mhm.
you can see when Grayson James took over, because
Yeah.
it just like took off. Like, this is a guy that there clearly was something going on there. And then you add on, as you mentioned before, like Lewis Bond, like, just consistently a good catching, like he's a volume receiver. Like, as you mentioned, Wes Welker, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Is he in for a bigger year this year? This is it. He's what, year 4, year 5 now. Like, are we looking at Lewis Bond for a bigger year?
I mean, I think the sky's the limits for him this year too, especially because he really hasn't had, a counterpart to really take the defense off of him. Like, I mean, we saw it early on last year. Like, even was it the Missouri game where he really got beat up across the middle, just because they know, like, that's, when you're playing Boston College, like, defensive coordinators know, like, you have to cover 11. Where I think that now you look at Reed Harris and you look at some of the other guys that they have out there, you really can't focus your whole game around Lewis Bond. I think it was 2 years ago when Lewis Bond made the comment in the presser where he's like, there's not a single person in the country that can tackle me in the open field.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the attitude that I've always loved from him. I just love how he's not cocky, he's confident, and
Yep.
he has shown the ability. And he's also a guy who I was a little not weary, I was a little nervous when all the TC drama was going down, that he was either going to follow him or kind of fall off. But no, he's very committed, like, to this school, to this program. And I think he's going to reward, the school and the fans with his play this year. And I'm very excited to see both of them.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch it, I think what Brett was also kind of alluding to, like, if you watched, it was right after the Fenway Bowl. They had that. I think it was Castellanos had his own YouTube page, and it was a whole vlog of his, like, getting ready for the bowl, and it was all Lewis Bond. Like, it was him, and they seemed tight as thieves. And I gotta admit, I'll tell you too, it was one of the earlier games. I was leaving after writing and podcasting and doing all that stuff, and the two of them were out, like, running to something, and I almost hit both. So they were like running across Com Ave, not really paying attention. It was Castellanos and Bond. So,
Thank
like,
God you didn't.
Yeah. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Where's your faith, or it could be lack of faith, or skepticism, on the offensive line? 3 guys that were starters and role players are gone. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's whenever you lose a guy like Kendall and Trapillo, like, it's hard, it's very hard. I think they have, what is it, only 2 people returning this year? Is it
Bowery and Taylor? Yep.
Logan Taylor's still here, huh? Because I forget when it was. It was either last night or the night before. I was just randomly, because that's what I do. I just think about BC for no reason. And I was, like, thinking about the offensive line stuff. And I'm like, you know what? A couple of years ago, we lost Mahogany. We were able to kind of shore that up and continue on. I do kind of trust and believe in the unit as a whole. I mean, Matt Applebaum has done a phenomenal job since coming back and really making that an emphasis, a strength for I almost said the Patriots. This is not a Patriot show.
Yes.
Um, for BC. So I tend to fall on the line of I guess it would be blind faith at this point, because I think that there's a lot of unknown and uncertainty going into it.
Mm-hmm.
But there was last year too, even though because the thing about Ozzy was it's not like Ozzy was this surefire, day 2 pick coming into last year or the year
Yep.
before. Like Ozzy, he was a guy that we weren't even sure was gonna necessarily make the cut last year.
Right.
He developed over the course of the season. So they're gonna find, those guys. And I know that they brought a couple guys in-house in the off season. So I'm not too concerned about it,
Yep.
especially, with the guys that they have around them. They're in very good hands. So I wouldn't say that it's a cause for concern, or I'm really nervous about it at all, honestly.
So I got to say, I went into this podcast. I was like, I'm gonna have a rough outline of what I talked with Brett. Got a few things. I'm like, is it gonna be enough time? And we're halfway through the first segment of what I was going to talk about. So we're going to add the defense onto segment 2 and special teams, because I want to. We had some conversations in the press booth about special teams, and I want to get your thoughts about Andy Quinn. Yeah, we're not going to get you traumatized, Brett, but
it's too late.
We'll be back in just a moment, because I want to talk about the defense with Brett and special teams, and we'll be back in just a moment. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shots or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways to win big and smart and win even bigger. So what players are you looking for? I'm looking for I'm all over Indiana and the Pacers in this. I thought they had the everything to go, so I'm going with Tyrese Halliburton. Point totals, get that on FanDuel. You can get the updated stats right now. Are you new to FanDuel? It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. And make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black, and I want to shout out all my first listeners. Everyone out there that every morning you want to get your Boston College news and you hit that play button on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for doing that. It really does make a big difference. And I'm so glad, again, to have Brett Ryder of Eagles Daily here with me. And let's get into the defense. Obviously, a big change coming up. Cam Horsley, gone. Donovan Azaraku, gone. Cam Arnold, gone. Where do you see the strength of this defense coming from next year?
So I think that, especially like when you talk about the defense, and it was a major retooling of it, right? And I've really credited you with this line of thinking on my own show and just in general, where especially when it comes to like the transfer portal, if you and you said it perfectly, if you take a bunch of average kids from power conferences, they're probably going to be average at your school too.
Yep.
The fact that BC has gone, below and got kids from like Elon, Valpo, like these real small, Merrimack. I mean, they went right down the street and get these kids from Merrimack, Brown, like all of these guys, and the way they're retooling their defense. I don't know necessarily what is going to be the strength of their defense, but I will say that I do believe that they have made the correct can you say acquisitions for college football?
Absolutely. It's just like the pros now. You gotta call it what it is, right?
Like, I'm like, is it? But yeah, I mean, like, look at the kid, Hewlett from Michigan. Like, that's a big pickup for them. That's a big body kid at a marquee position that like they desperately needed in linebacker.
Yep.
Also the kid, what's it, Boykin? I always
Ela Boykin. I was
Ela
called
Boykin.
my high school Spanish kept going to Ella Boykin. Like, and it was completely wrong. I asked him, I'm like, can you please help me spell your name? He goes, it's like Eli, but with an A at the end. I'm like, Ela, got it. Gone.
Ela.
Yep.
Never gonna ask you again.
Yep. Nope. I'm
I'm
embarrassed I had to ask this, but I need to because I don't want to keep
yeah.
butchering your name on my
Uh,
podcast.
I butcher the names left and right, and I just
Mm-hmm.
prompt it like, you know what, like I'm sorry.
Yep.
Like I used to have the worst time with George Takis. Like I could never get his name correct. I think I called him like
Mm-hmm.
tacos a couple times, but I mean the big guy, or the guy that I'm pretty big on for, and there's no like real reason for it. It's not like I've like seen his tape, but for some reason I just have a feeling about him, and I hope I'm right. Is Chris Marable, the kid out of Wake Forest? Like
Mm.
that's a big body. That's a
Yep.
big body coming in. He looks like he's going to be a D tackle. He looks like he's going to be able to shore up the line.
Yeah.
They lost Horsley, they lost George Rooks, so it's like they do have a lot. And I think all four of their linemen are gone, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All four of their
Yeah.
starters from last year are gone.
So that's a whole new group. So I think instead of looking at it as if it's like, what is the strength of this defense? It's like, what is the biggest cause for concern in this defense? And I think for a lot of us, it was linebacker, without even kind of realizing that they lost Azaraku,
Yep.
on all that production, but they lost everybody off the line. The entire defensive line is gone. I
Yep.
would say that's the biggest cause for concern. I think our secondary is going to be perfectly fine. We should be getting Amari Jackson back, so that'll
Yep.
be a big upgrade for us. And so I'm fine with the secondary. I think the defense as a whole, there is cause for concern. I think with
Yep.
Tim Lewis, we do feel good about Tim. I get crap on my show all the time about, because I think the first or second episode of the show, I was just like, I have no idea who this guy Tim Lewis is. It looks like he's just kind of like a stopgap guy, and I got shredded for it. Like for the whole season, people are just like, "You doubted Tim Lewis," and I'm like, "I never doubted Tim Lewis. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know if he
Mm-hmm.
was the actual guy. I didn't know if it was just kind of like Bill O'Brien was a late hire guy and they brought him in. I didn't know, but he's proven to be a very sound defensive coordinator. So."
I got the same grief, and I believe many friends and family of his of Tim Lewis found my podcasts and told me that you should know about him. So I'm
Yeah.
right there with you there that one, Brett. But you know what I've learned with Tim and talking to Mitch Wolf, who watches film, and I mean he found UFL. I was going through that. Like the thing with Lewis is he's not like stuck to one style of defense. He's gonna
Right.
adapt, and like we saw it when Azaraku was gone. Like that the bowl game, he changed the defense up. That's something I think that's going to be really exciting about this defense. And I'm glad you brought up the linebackers. This spring was the weirdest, like in terms of watching one positional group.
Mhm.
Watching that linebacker group was really, really weird because
Yes.
you had a converted running back in Von Pemberton playing out there, two preferred walk-ons who played their hearts out, but they're preferred walk-ons,
Yep.
and then underclassmen like Griffin Collins, and everyone else that you're expecting to start were hurt. They just didn't play. You
Yeah.
didn't have Owen McGowan, you didn't have Bam Crouch, you didn't have Kamari Dixon, like Jalen Blackwell was out, like. It was crazy. So you're kind of jumping on faith here with that group, but
Yes.
as you said, like I feel pretty good. Like Jason Hewlett, I thought was a really, really good, one of the better transfer portal gets that they've landed in the
Yeah.
past like 5 years. Like he's
A-
really good.
absolutely. That's a guy that a year or two ago, like you're not getting, like
Yep.
you're not even
Yeah.
talking about it because he's not even considering coming here.
Yep. And I think that's credit to Bill O'Brien because like
Mhm.
there is a aura around him where players want to play here. Like, and if they're
Yeah.
not getting, they're gonna maybe give up a little NIL to come here because they know they're gonna play and they're gonna get coached up to be in the NFL. Now,
Mhm.
all right, what's I'm gonna hurt you here. let's
Don't
talk
do
about
it.
let's talk about the special teams. And I've talked to my faces blue about the punting. Um, you came to some practices. What were your thoughts on Andy Quinn? Because everyone's calling him my like favorite player on the team because like I just don't want to get hurt again, and I think he
Yeah.
could do it.
Yeah, it's that simple. It's like, can the bar the bar for there's two things about what I want out of a Boston College punter. And if you can pass those thresholds, we're good. Can you punt the ball forward? Very, very simple. It's very straight cut. Can you punt the ball more than 20 yards down the field? Also,
Mhm.
seems like a low threshold, but like
Yep.
as we've seen, it's not here. He seems very good. I mean, he's like hitting the ceiling with punts. He's
Yep.
got this massive leg. I and like here's the thing. I don't know if it's more so just we're so traumatized by bad punting that
Yep.
anything looks good. If it's just like, oh my God, this guy is phenomenal, but really he's just okay, but we think he's great. But you know what? I'll take that. If even if he is just an okay run of the mill college football punter, wonderful. I just want someone that can flip the field. That's it.
39.5 yards punts. I
Yeah.
honestly like it seems small, but like we watched it last year where every punt was a nightmare. And so you get this kid we're banking on right now, a freshman from Ireland
Mhm.
who's just picked up the game.
Yeah.
But I'm right there with you. Like hope springs eternal. Watching him in practice, I was like, my jaw dropped to the floor. Like the difference between him and the other punters was very clear.
Mhm.
And so we're gonna get to the summer, and I'm already petrified of like, yeah, the ceiling kept hitting it, but I couldn't tell what the trajectory on these things were. They were just huge going
Yeah.
up punts. Like,
Yeah.
is it when he gets outside, is it gonna go right up and then right down again? Or
Yeah. A nice
I
15
hope
yard
not.
skyrocket.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something I'm not looking forward to this summer, but that's something we have. And I think the other piece with special teams, the one piece with Matt Turn that I thought was really important is I talked to Mitch about this too a little bit because he just kind of knows the football stuff. Is that the special teams coach? Yeah, they do the punchers and the kickers,
Mhm.
but mostly it's the blocking. And I thought that was really good last year. Like they really like as bad as some kicks and punts were, like they got some good punt returns. Like Isaiah
Yeah.
Ferris had a few. Now
Mhm.
you got VJ Wilkins, and this kid's gonna be something.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think we were really promised, Jaden McGowan last year as like this incredible
Mm,
Devin Hester-esque kick returner. It just didn't materialize, and
yep.
that's fine. No big deal. I think as a whole, especially with the special teams, we didn't make a field goal, or BC, I shouldn't say BC didn't make a field goal till like what, week 9 or 10 or something. Like it
Mhm.
was pretty crazy how far into the season they went without,
Yep.
converting on a field goal. That's the thing about special teams. It's like when you don't have a punter and you don't have a place kicker, you're in trouble. It doesn't matter what you do. If you don't have those two facets of the game, like you're in trouble. So if they can work those two pieces out, and I'm with you, the kick returning and the punt returning, it can be dynamic and it should really help them, especially this year. But the special teams guys, they really need to kind of figure that out, and they need to figure it out early, because there was a lot of games, especially early on in the season, that were right there for the taking with a field goal or two.
Mhm. Yeah, and so I look at where things are at, and I think with special teams, you have any sort of just serviceable that could mask some of the issues that you're going to have
Yeah,
with defense at times. Because if you could flip the
yeah,
field and make them drive on you,
yeah,
that's going to make things better. And if you can get 3 points, Luca Lombardo's going to be back. Like we saw him at practice a little bit. He's got
yeah.
a good leg, and I don't know
Mhm.
how accurate he's going to be, but I'm looking forward to see what he can do. Now, in our final segment, Brett and I have talked the offense, the defense. Father Jack Butler is 1 year away. College football's changing. I want to get Brett's take on where BC's at and what Father Jack should be doing to get BC to the next level. We'll get into that in just a moment. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. And when you are done with this podcast on the Locked On Network, check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. It's on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, Brett, I think a lot of BC fans are very excited for the end of next academic year when Father Jack Butler takes over as president of BC. This is a priest that is a Jesuit that's very athletic friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And my thoughts are this is a chance for BC to take that next step. Where do you think Father Jack, what do you think his vision should be and how he could change BC athletics? Big question for you.
Oh, it's a massive question. I mean, like the brand itself, right? Because it's like we just had the squabble with like the Notre Dame people this past week on Twitter, and their big thing is the brand, there's no culture, this or that. I think being able to like establish that, which is happening now, like Bill O'Brien is doing a very good job of, really establishing the Boston College brand again, because it has gotten diminished over the past, 10, 15 years,
Sure.
And kind of turned into, exactly what everyone kind of has always perceived them as, like just an athletic or an academic institution that has athletics, right? Like that's
Right.
kind of always been like the BC way. Whereas I think now, and you're kind of going into like the NIL land, and it's more of like a business. Well, you kind of got to treat the athletic department as a business too. It's like you can have an amazing academic standard and still have very competitive and very successful athletic department as well. Like both things can be true. And I think that BC is starting to, kind of go more in that direction and kind of show everyone that, kind of like Stanford was 5-10 years ago. Notre Dame, even though I don't like giving them credit, but for the most part, like that's how they are, like
Yep.
they are a successful program. And BC continues to bring in their type of guys. Like I don't think that they're ever going to go the route of just paying people, lowering the standards and just bringing in, dudes just to play football and not worry. But I think they want to win the right way. And I think having someone like Father Jack at the helm, who's really going to continue to, instill these Jesuit values within the institution, like, and have it kind of ring out amongst the team, amongst the players, through the coaches, like you're going to really start to see that more with the success, because Father Jack's been around he was around in the early 2000s when they were having all that success. So I think it's important to have someone kind of leading the charge who has seen BC get to a level that we all kind of aspire to get back to. And I think he does have like kind of like the inside track on how to get back to that.
Yeah, I feel like he has the right vision. And so like football, like you mentioned, like the brand and everything, it's like going in the right direction. Like you have the right coach. And I think the only thing that Father Jack can do there is continue to make sure that the school financially supports that, right? Like if O'Brien gets us to that next level, pay Bill O'Brien. If
Right.
you like, if he needs more for his staff and things are working, you pay them, right? I think what the big turning point, you look on the court, like you look at basketball. Like if I'm Earl Grant, I'm a little bit worried right now. Like that's right there.
Yeah.
One of the big missing pieces, because that program is a mess. And I mean, I feel like I personally feel like Earl Grant did a pretty good job in the transfer portal this year. Like I kind of
Yeah,
like
I
what they
did.
did.
I did.
But
I do.
again, are they going to be able to do it on the court? Like, is that going to get excitement up? And if it doesn't, it's going to be up to Father Jack to be like, what do we need to do to change this? We can't get another Jim Christian, Steve Donahue, Earl Grant.
No.
We need to put more money into this. Like, that's going to be the big, I think for me, like that program itself. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
you look at baseball, Todd Internato's got some things going on.
Yeah.
Hockey obviously is buzzing.
Yeah.
Lacrosse, like it's basketball. Like,
It's the one hindrance of the entire department, and it's
mhm,
just like it's like that black eye on the school where it's like, haven't made a tournament since '09, and it
mhm.
doesn't look like there's, like, hope on the horizon there. I think
Nope.
that's the biggest thing too, and to your point too, right? Like, they made the Bill O'Brien hire and have started to see the success and the turnaround, so it's like that kind of correlates into the whole basketball thing because especially when you're talking about the new college football and these super conferences going around,
Yeah.
if you want to be included, like, you can have an awesome football team, but if your basketball team is that bad, like, that's baggage. And conference, the SEC or Big Ten or even the ACC, as they kind
Mhm.
of look to compete, like, they don't want that baggage. They don't want
Right.
they don't want some program like that. So
Right. And that's a great point, Brett. All right, we're out of time on my podcast. We have like a hard
whew.
end at 30. So this was great. Thank you so much for coming on. I'll have to have you on again soon. And
Please.
please have me on your podcast if you want to. Like, I feel like Brett's show is much more of like a relaxed, like have a cigar and
Yep.
just chill feel to his podcast, and like it's great. So I've been on before. I'll be
Thank
back
you.
on again soon.
You sure
Um,
will. And thank you for
but
having me on too. This has been awesome.
before I go, this is completely random. My son, my 6-year-old, who met Brett at the Woo Sox game a couple weeks
Yep.
ago, um, he made something and he said, "I made this for you, Dad." And this is what I've done to my child. He made a little bead. I don't know if you can see it. I'm trying to
Oh
get it.
yeah, I can.
Let me get rid of the virtual background so you can see it. Yeah, he made me a eagle.
Little
In my
Baldwin.
Yeah, he said, "Dad, I made you Baldwin." So this is what I've done to my kids. So it's
There.
something that Brett and I, you know, we've put a lot of our blood, sweat, and tears into this work.
Mhm.
And Brett, where can people find your work? How can people find Eagles Daily?
So you can find Eagles Daily on Twitter, Instagram. We do have a TikTok now. I saw you have a TikTok too,
I
and
do. Yep, I'm on
still
TikTok.
we're still learning it, but us older gents, we're still learning the TikTok game. But across all platforms, you can find us at Eagles Daily BC. The podcast also has an account, Eagles Weekly BC, and then my personal accounts, Brett Ryder, and the E in Ryder is a 3. And yeah, throw us a follow, and love being here. So really appreciate you bringing me on, AJ.
If there's one episode that you guys need to check out his interview with Mason Madsen a couple weeks ago.
Mm,
Awesome. That was such a good listen. Mason Madsen was on Eagles Daily probably about a month ago, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
he's phenomenal.
Yeah. And that was a really fun listen. You learn a lot. So check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. My name's AJ Black. You can follow me on Twitter at AJ Black247. Make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. And I'll be back again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, where we're going to talk about the final prep for official visit weekend. Markey's coming, Kai Pritchard's coming. Those are 2 big names on the offensive line. We're going to have even more details about what that could mean on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.